Hi. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today's video is all about editing, as if you couldn't tell from the intro of this video and the thumbnail and the title and everything like that. Today, I had a very interesting comment hit me a little bit close to home, and I thought I would address it here. Stylistic editing is something that I thought was cool, and honestly, again, that's my thing. I like to edit my photos in a way that invokes emotion and all that good stuff, whether that be rage baiting you guys or making you want to cry. But that being said, I have 3 photos that I want to show you right now that I've got pulled up on my computer here that honestly, like, I thought when I edited these photos that they were really good, but I had multiple people on social media telling me that they are a little bit too warm, there's too much grain, there's too much this, there's too much that. So to that I say, I don't care as much, but I do want to address that editing is subjective, but there are some rules of thumb that you should follow in general, just to make sure that you're putting out the most promising image that you possibly can, okay? So, first image here I want to look at is this one. This was at a pay station in a parking lot in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I saw this little like pay machine building is kind of run down a little bit. I like the rust on the little yellow post there. I like the paint chipping off. The cars in the background make it feel like this parking lot is being lived in by the community. And I really loved the yellow of the tent thing on top that says pay here in big black letters. I really enjoyed this photo. That being said, when I edited the photo, it didn't really come across the way that I wanted to. And upon further inspection, I can see where the comments on this post are making a little bit more sense. So it is a little on the warm side. When I shot this photo, which I unfortunately cannot find the raw file for right now because I have thousands of photos on my computer, I thought this is a good photo. It really is. But I could have edited a little bit. I could have edited the photo a little bit better. For one, I would have kept the original white balance. I thought, hey, it's a little bit dreary outside. I might as well go through and just make a small edit to the white balance. I just cranked it up just a touch and it looked orange. This is an orange photo. I also played around with the shadows, and you can tell under the cars that the shadows are not really holding onto the detail as much as I would like, not as much as I would have liked. But that being said, it's not completely washed out, or they're not gray, or they're not, you know, gross to look at, and you can see the pavement underneath the cars. The other thing is the sky is completely white in this photo. There was an overcast that day, but there was enough gray in the clouds for me to have been able to tone down the highlights there and just make sure that the sky was visible in the photo. I do like the way that it kind of fades off into this white background. I do like that a lot. The other thing is the whites in this photo are completely blown out. And if you know anything about editing in Lightroom on any screen, it's impossible to nail that every single time. Let's move on to the second photo though, because this one and the one after I think are where you can really tell that this photo could have been something really great, but because the way I edited the photo, it didn't really come across that way. So here's the second photo, and again, oversaturated on the reds and the oranges just a touch, and the shadows again are completely butchered here. Not butchered, let me back up. I'm not gonna say that they're butchered. This is my photo. I love these photos. I think they turned out really good, but technically speaking, this is wrong. And not from like a everyone says this, everyone says that kind of way. It's, again, I could have toned down the white balance on this one a little bit. One area where I did notice that this photo is a little bit technically wrong is when you look at underneath where it says pay by machine or phone. I wish I would have held a little bit more detail in those shadows there. If you zoom in, you can't really see it. I'm not gonna zoom into this photo in this video. You can't really see what's going on with that part that's fallen down. One thing that I did do correctly though, is I did mask off that little gray electrical box just above that wooden like section of the wall there. And I think that pop, this is just a little detail that I think I did do kind of right. Again, it's way too orange. The highlights in the sky and the highlights like on the cars and the saturation on the cars, a little bit too heavy. And then again, I've messed up the white balance. Here's the next photo, and you can clearly see where everything in this photo is orange. That building is red. It's a red brick building, but it's orange in this photo. The tree was yellow, but it's orange in this photo. That magenta billboard in the background was not really that shade of magenta. It was more of a purple. But again, because I cranked up the orange, or the white balance in this photo, you can definitely tell that it's a bit too orange. I should have left the white balance alone. I definitely should have left the white balance alone here. I did learn my lesson. I definitely learned my lesson, and these next few photos will definitely demonstrate how I fixed that, and you guys will be able to see that in the photos that I'm about to show you. Before we get into those though, my name is Joey. Make sure you guys get subscribed to this channel because I have a lot more content coming to you guys, you, the viewer, the guy behind the screen there. I'm looking at you, and I would love to share this journey that I'm going on with you guys. So if you are interested in photography, if you're interested in watching beginners struggle in this field, if you are a beginner yourself, or if you're just looking for tips, tricks, fun videos and that kind of stuff, talking head jazz, please, by all means, get subscribed, hang out with me, and we will figure this out together. Also, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, so let me go ahead and show you these 3 photos. Well, I have 6 photos. I have 6 photos to show you guys. So the next one is this photo here. This was on a walk that I took around my neighborhood here in the South Metro. And I came across, there's like a condo building or like a townhouse, something or other behind me. And I was like, wow, that staircase is like really nice to look at. And what I did was I snapped a photo of it and left it at that. I didn't edit it. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of took the photo and completely forgot that I took the photo. Oh, something I should mention before we go further. All of these photos, literally all of these photos are taken at 35 millimeters on the Tamron 17-70 with a Sony a6100. That is the kit that I'm using. I really, really, really love this Tamron lens. I want to make a review on it very badly. I would love to make a review on this lens. That being said, I'm gonna have to use the kit lens that I have because the only other lens that I have for this camera is an 85 millimeter. And if you know anything about 85 millimeter, there is no vlogging with that lens. So I promise I will have a review of the Tamron 17-70 coming up. I might have to borrow a lens from somebody just so I can film that video and make it look good because the kit lens that Sony sends with these cameras is... We are going to forget that, and I will eventually record that video. But anyway, this photo went unedited for months. Literally, it just sat on my computer. Finally got around to editing it, and it looks fantastic. So here's kind of like the vibe that I'm going for with all of these photos that you're gonna see in this video, okay? What I like to do is if the color green is present, punch them. Make them as saturated and as vibrant as you possibly can. Green, for whatever reason, for me, is my favorite color to edit. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say because a lot of people hate editing green, but what I did was I made this light post here and the tree, the subject of the photo. And what I did was completely devibranced the background and the foreground. So anything that's closest to you in this photo and everything that is furthest away from you in this photo, I completely desaturated it. Not completely, but just like I did it enough to where the green is the focus of the photo. And my favorite thing right now, we'll see how this goes, is making color the subject of the photo, not the actual what's in the picture. I want the color to be the subject of the photo. I am still learning how to edit. I love color science. I quite enjoy it, and I spend my free time on YouTube watching videos about color science. Fun fact about Joey. This is a perfect example of me trying to make color the subject. I wanted that green to pop. The brown siding in the background of this photo was a little bit more dark. Like it was very, very saturated brown. Cranked it down. We don't need it. There are no highlights in this photo. I literally cranked it on Lightroom. If you know anything about Lightroom, in the middle, all the way to the left. Like every photo that I edit, for the most part, I take the highlights completely out of it, with a few exceptions. We have 2 of those exceptions in this video. So stick here if you want to see those exceptions, but highlights are gone. I do not fuck with highlights. I do not like looking at highlights. I think they make pictures look stupid. Yeah, that's just my philosophy on highlights in photos. But this photo is a really, really good example of color being the subject, and that is a perfect segue into the next photo. This photo was very, very, very intentionally captured. I was at a library in St. Paul with a friend of mine who was modeling for me for some photos, and I saw this girl sitting at the desk at the library, and I said, wow, that red is very complementary to the red of the exit sign. And that was the framing of this photo. This photo is the only photo I've ever taken in my entire time doing photography where everything was perfectly framed in camera, not in post. I took this photo and I said, wow, this is gonna be a good one to edit. And I think it's a good still life photo for where we were, because you see the lab, it's got the light up there, but the subject here is her shirt, her red shirt. that red sweater that she was wearing, it was so just like out of place in this scene. Like if she were wearing like a green sweater, I think it would have went a little bit better, but she intentionally wore that red sweater that day in her life. I don't know who this is. I have no idea who this person is. The red sweater, very, very nice. Getting on to the next photo here. This photo was captured with my boy Pablo. Shout out Pablo, man. We haven't hung out in a while. What the hell? So this lady was walking in her yellow rain jacket in, I don't remember what park this was, but this is another example, a third example of color being the subject. Yellow is the focal point. Everything else is kind of like not really as important in the photo. I did like how sharp I got this lady in focus with, this was shot on the Tamron as well. And I do like the fact that the background, everything but the subject is desaturated. It gives it because it was raining, it wasn't actively raining, but it was wet outside. It had just rained. So it kind of gave it a, you know, home after the rain kind of vibe. I don't know. I really like this photo. And this is another example of me using the color as the subject in my editing. This photo, boy, oh boy, was this a doozy to edit. Listen to me. Here, I gotta get up. Listen to me. This was a pain in the ass to edit. When I tell you none of the highlights in this photo wanted to go away, oh my gosh, dude. I had to literally crank the highlight thing all the way down and crank the whites all the way down. But two sliders that are extremely important when photo editing, especially in Adobe Lightroom, is clarity and texture. Clarity, I usually drop that to about minus, depending on how much, you know, grain there is in the photo out of the camera, or noise, sorry. Depending on how much noise there is out of camera, I usually crank the clarity down to like minus 15 and the texture to plus 5, because I feel like it's a perfect balance of keeping as much detail in the like lighter end of the photo, and then but also kind of like keeping the detail with the sharpness. Sharpness is something that I have been trying to perfect, which will never happen because I run a Sony a6100. Listen, if anyone has an a6400 or an a6700 that they would like to gift to me and or let me buy from them, please let me know. Please let me know. I need an a6700 in my life so bad. This photo would have looked so much better on an a6700. But again, the point here is color is the point. It's the subject of the photo. Now, when I was editing this, I want you guys to tell me what color in this photo do you think is the subject? I'll wait. If you guessed blue, you are right. The sky in the background of this photo is what I wanted you to see. But when you're looking at that, when you bring your eyes to the foreground, you see this beautifully like vined house and these white windows. I really, really love the way and the composition of this photo. The brick was a pain in the ass to get right just because there's so many fine details and stuff like that. Shout out to Lightroom's AI denoise, and my orange light just went out. What do I do here? Okay. I had to switch over to one of my plug-in fill lights because my spotlight that I use a, what is this, a small rig spotlight? Oh no, this is the newer, I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the newer PL220, I think it's called. I have a small rig one, but this is the newer PL220. And this is just a tricolor, quad color, because it does white as well, but spotlight that I really, really like. Yeah, so anyway, where was I? Yeah, this photo is another perfect example of the colors of the subject. I think I ranted enough about that before my light decided to die on me. So let's go ahead and switch over to the next photo. This photo, what can I say about this photo? The detail in this picture is bonkers. And I managed to nail the focus point of that orange leaf dead center. I don't know how I did it. My Viltrox was for some reason not connecting to my camera, which was weird. Like it would be on the camera, but the camera didn't recognize that the lens was attached to it. So because that's what I wanted to take this picture with, but I had my Tamron on me, so I went and switched over to that 35mm per usual. That's what I'm filming this in now, which is my new favorite focal length, 35mm. It was the 85 for a while, but I was doing a lot of portraits. But for street photography, I think 35mm is, bruh, it's the way. 35mm is yeah, it's sexy. It's like, I like it. I like it. But anyway, the bokeh here is perfect. I really do wish I would have edited this lady's face out over here on the right-hand side of this photo, or the side of her head anyway. The color, again, green and orange were the two colors that I wanted to use as the jump out focal point of this photo, because that is a very like amber-ish colored orange, and I loved it. I like the way that the sun is coming down on that tree in the background. I love the shadow in the background, but I maintained to keep a lot of the detail. Again, no exposure adjustments here, just contrast, highlights all the way down. Or actually, no, this was one of the two exceptions to that highlight rule. So I went about -80 on the highlights, -80 on the highlights on this one. And then shadows, I basically left them alone. Whites, left it alone. And then, yeah, no exposure adjustments here, just color adjustments mainly, and grain adjustments. I went through the Lightroom AI noise remover thing, and it turned out really, really good. I'm very proud of this photo, actually. Now I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm very, very, very proud of this photo. Yeah, I love that color, that like dark green or whatever color that is. It's almost like a dark purple on those leaves there. And like just the amount of stuff that is going on in this photo, but it doesn't look bad. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like a bad image. I really outdid myself with this one. Same editing philosophy, saturation to a minimum, and then vibrancy kind of cut back a little bit, except for in the green range and the orange range. I think those are the only two colors that I bumped up. Everything else was pulled down because I wanted to make sure that I captured, again, the orange, and then the way that the sun was hitting that green tree in the back. I wanted to make sure those stood out first, and then everything else was kind of like your eyes fill in the blanks where they need to. So this image is, in my opinion, perfect. From where my skill set is now, this image is perfect. And then that takes us to the last photo, which again, tack sharp. This light post was just like screaming at me. I was at a football game, and this light post was just screaming at me the entire time. And I absolutely needed to capture how the sun was hitting it. So I whipped my camera out, put it 35mm, took the photo. This image is cropped, so it was a lot wider of a shot, but I cropped it in, and it is tack sharp. The highlights on the glass on the front of those lights, the way that the orange is kind of setting in, the sun was starting to set in this photo. So it was a little bit later in the day, but I nailed the composition of this photo in camera. This was quite, honestly, it was just a random photo. Now that I think about it, now that I'm like thinking back to that day, this was a random photo. I was at a football game taking some pictures. I looked up, I don't remember what made me look up either, but I looked up and I was like, huh, that's a nice looking light post. And I pulled my camera out, click, 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 got this photo and a couple of others. But again, the color here, blue, is again the main point of this photograph, but the orange and the yellows from the light hitting, the sun hitting these lights is going to be the secondary to that. And I think this is another example of pick your battles when it comes to editing. There's a lot of sharpening going on here, and then this is the other exception to that rule. The highlights are at about -20 on this photo. I didn't need to adjust too much there, and then the only thing I bumped up was the blue and the orange and yellow. Those three things are the only things that I bumped up here. I think I also didn't touch the clarity slider at all, but I did increase dehaze and texture just to kind of make that light, the actual wooden light post and the nails coming out of it, stand out a little bit more, because there's so much detail in those still, even with it being compressed so much from the raw file. I think that, you know, this turned out extremely, extremely good. So yeah, that is pretty much my editing kind of like style. I guess I didn't really do too much and show you too much here, but I do think that this video kind of like explained how I like to edit my photos a little bit more and how I use color to tell the story. Yeah, so if I were you, I would just play around in Lightroom for a couple of days, see if, you know, you can just find a preset that you like and kind of like tweak it. That's what I do. That's what I used to do. I don't really do that anymore because, again, I'm trying to like switch over to the color thing. But for beginners out there, what I would do is I would pick a preset that you find, just find a preset on the internet. There's tons of free presets out there. There are tons of paid presets or presets everywhere. Someone is selling a preset somewhere. Pick one, tweak it the way you like, and go with that, And it also helps taking the same type of photography. I didn't include any portraits in this because skin tones are different, the makeup changes, the not costume, but the like outfit changes, all of that stuff is a variable. Street photography is pretty consistent. If you like to take pictures of light posts, if you like to take pictures of plants, if you know what I mean, pick your niche, stick to it for a while, nail it, perfect it, get it down pat, and then move on. That is my rant of photo editing. Shout out to the guy who left me the comment on TikTok so that I could go in and kind of explain myself as to why I am the way I am when it comes to editing photos. And yeah, remember, get subscribed. 612 is on the way. It is in the works. I'm currently looking at bindings right now. It's probably gonna get pushed back a little bit, like a couple of weeks, but it will release. And yeah, if you guys want to pre-order one, DM me on Instagram. Go follow me on Instagram. Go follow me on TikTok. Go follow me on all the places. Stop not following me places, because how are you gonna see my content if you don't follow me on the places where I post my content? Shame on you. I'm kidding. But yeah, go take a picture today just because you deserve to. And a picture is cringely worth 1,000 words. I have no idea why I just said that, but remember, do it because Joey said so.